Welcome everybody, my name is François Letarte and this is my channel JDR D30, a channel about tabletop role-playing games. So this will be the video response to Tim Harper 13 questions. The link of the original video is down there, along with all the questions. If you want to respond yourself and send your answers to Tim, because he needs that for homework, and yeah, so he needs your response if you haven't done it. You know, many people have responded to that. I think I have watched them all, and these was all interesting questions, and well, these are interesting questions, and the answers were also interesting. So I will respond to the 13 questions. Some of the answers may repeat some of the stuff that has already been said, but you know, it will add up to the rest in order to put some weight on it. So let's begin. Can you please describe in any detail any negative situations that came about in your life because you played RPGs? For example, were you ever bullied, belittled, made fun of, told you were going to hell because you played those games, etc.? Well, belittle and all that, well, I've never felt that it was that extreme. Of course, when you come to someone who don't really know what is a role-playing game, maybe he has heard of Dungeons and Dragons, but you know, you tell them that you are playing that kind of game, yeah, they may have that strange look, you know, looking at you as if you were wasting your time with your imagination. It's just because they don't understand what you're doing exactly. Well, it's a tolerable situation, but nothing more than that. The going to hell situation never happened in Quebec province. From what I remember, you know, we've heard of it, okay? In the 80s, yeah, we've heard that there was some stigmas in the United States about satanic panic and suicide correlation. And also in France, okay? In France in the 90s, they had their problems. You know, since in Quebec province, we are a French nation. I was reading a French magazine, and there was lots of problems in France in the 90s. It was also suicide correlation. You know, the role-playing games had very bad press in those times. This never happened in Quebec province, okay? Well, you know, I remember when I began to play, there was a documentary show on TV called Le Match de la Vie, which can be translated by the match of life, something like that. It was a documentary show about many subjects. You know, you could have an actor who got through a severe illness, and there was a vignette about it. You can have someone who was putting trees to make them grow, and there was a vignette about it. And there was a vignette about Dungeons and Dragons, telling what kind of game this was, and there was a mention about the problems they had in the United States, but in the show they were clever enough to say that it was only a game and the problems was outside of the game, you know, the problems that, and the people were just searching for an easy suspect for the problem, saying, hey, you played role-playing games, it's because of that you have problems. So no, millions of people in Quebec watch this show, and I have never heard of it afterward. You know, my grandmother used to watch this show, and she never made a case of me when I was bringing my red box in Christmas to her home, and you know, she was looking at the box, and yeah, no, she wasn't worried at all. You know, okay. So we never had these problems in Quebec province. Yeah, you know, people were quite tolerant. They were understanding that it was only a game, and more than that, you know, in high schools, I went to different high schools, and there was a role-playing club. So if the principals of those schools were allowing ourselves to have our own, you know, room to make role-playing games, it's because they knew that it was only a game. So they weren't influenced by the bad press that was going around in other countries. Made fun of, it happened to me. You know, the most extreme case was one of my ex-girlfriend many years back. Okay, she had that bad first impression of when she was in high school. You know, in high school, she remembers, you know, the geeky, stinky guys who were alone in their corner playing that strange games and getting excited because they were saying they had a battle axe. Okay, and yeah, and she never got past that what you know, her own prejudice, and she put a stamp on it. And role-playing games, it was for those kind of guys. And I guess that because I was with her, it made her uncomfortable to know that it was a hobby I was loving so much. And I've never, you know, I have never been able to change her mind about it, and it was unfortunate. I even got her into a game, and yeah, well, it was a while back. You know, my game mastering skill were maybe not as attuned as they may be now, but nevertheless, I tried to bring the game to her in a very positive way, and it never worked. You know, all this throughout the session, she was making fun of everything that she had on her character sheet, and every time I got an NPC out, she was making that silly joke, you know, turn off joke about what I was doing. Yeah. So unfortunately, she had that first impression, and she was just stuck with it. So that's the most I ever got as being made fun of. Yeah. She's my ex-girlfriend, by the way. 2. What skills do you think you have personally improved by playing role-playing games? Probably lots of them. It's hard to trace them exactly. You know, I don't know what skill I wouldn't have got if I have never been in role-playing games. So it's hard to trace down. Maybe, you know, storytelling skill. Okay, in my job here, I have to tell children's stories. You know, I take a book like that, and yeah, I tell the story, and you know, I try to captivate the audience, and you know, making NPCs out of the characters, making voices for them, and even making them talk a little more than what they have in the book, trying to captivate young kids. And yeah, I think game mastering has has helped with that. Creativity, again, here in my job, I have to create lots of activity to surrounding reading for youngs, and I have to be original. I have to create new activities every time. And you know, since in role-playing games you have to be highly creative, I think it helped. I create activities that no other libraries are doing. Sometimes I made some research around libraries around the world to see if someone made something similar than me, and you know, often I come up with, I'm the only one who came out with this idea. So trying to be original, and you know, coming with something new to impress. Okay, maybe it's something that was brought to me by role-playing games. Okay, well, yeah, being in front of people and being you know, speaking to an audience. It's like game mastering when I'm doing it. You know, when I'm at the table as a game master, the way I look at the players and I try to get them in the game, it feels like exactly when I come up on stage with my guitar and ready to make a show. You know, I talk to the public as if they were players in a role-playing game, and I'm ready to hear their responses. You know, I try to throw them some lines, and they may have, you know, I can have any kind of feedback, and I'm trying to roll with the punch just to keep it in the show. I even have that rock and roll band. You know, if you have followed my channel, some of my videos as a, you know, rock intro, it's one of my band called Belittled. And yeah, I had some kind of a character in that band. You know, I had some kind of a costume, and when I was getting on stage, I was in character. Okay. So it was short, heavy songs, and between songs I was still in character. You know, I was entertaining the people as someone else. Okay, yes, it was me, but you know, I had some kind of a character, stage character with it, and yeah, and I was interacting with the public with that. I could have, you know, a drunk guy coming on stage and taking the mic to saying drunken stuff. And I was able to kick him off stage, staying in character. Okay, so yeah, it was a complete show. I was, you know, so I stayed in character all through the show. You know, up to the last note of the last song, I was in character, and I think that's something I have developed by role-playing games. So it's kind of getting focused at what you are doing. It's like staying in character, maybe. So that's the stuff I can point out for the second question. Third question, who introduced you to RPGs, and what was your first experience like playing them? People, the guy who has introduced me to role-playing games It's called Nelson Archambault. It was 30 years ago. I was a big fan of choose your own adventure type of book, fighting fantasy, lone wolves. Okay, I was into that, and I get to the library to an activity, the same library I'm working now, and I was old enough to be with the older guys who wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and Nelson was the game master. So I had a blast. The first game I ever got, I think that the adventure was not that good, and I only had 3 sessions with that guy ever. But I had a blast to discover the possibilities of a role-playing game. That was a nuclear blast that was inside of me, and yeah, I got into it right away. Yeah, still today I talk to the guy. Maybe I will do something with him to celebrate my 30 years into role-playing game, because that's someone I see quite regularly, even though we haven't played more than 3 sessions together. So yeah, it was quite a blast. 4. What was your first experience like running a game? I had the red box. I was used to have some sort of a pre-planned scenario. In those books, of course, what you should do by the start of the book. I was used to that. And in the box I have bought of Dungeons and Dragons, there was Keep on Borderland, which is a big sandbox. So the sandbox type of game, it was quite unknown to me. It was fun, but I was really working hard to try to find a goal into the Keep on the Borderlands, which is not that much of a good idea. But the players found themselves a goal. In one of the caves there's a cleric, an evil cleric, and they decided to bring him down. So that was their goal, and I rolled with it, and it was quite fun. The players was trying to make up their own plans to destroy the guy and all that. So I guess it was fun enough. I'm still here. Okay, so that was my first experience like running a game. What was it designing your own system? Well, I've never seriously made some game system of my own. Maybe in the 80s as a teenager I tried myself, but nothing serious. The closest I ever got was my own version of the D6 system, the West End Games D6 system, which throughout 20 years, I'm fine-tuning the system once in a while, and right now it's up to my hand. I talk once in a while about it. I have made promise to make videos about it or write something about it. It will come eventually. I will make a document about my way to run the D6 system, and yeah, it will be something I will share freely. But yeah, that's the closest I ever got. And what was it like? Well, I'm very satisfied by the end. I know that I have something to my taste that works perfectly well to what I need. So yeah, it's a system for my need. First of all, it may not be the system for everyone, but I'm fine with what I came up. 6. What was it like making your own setting? Once again, I have never really created a whole setting. The most that I have ever got into creating a setting, you can see it in the pages of RPGS, which is the book I promote once in a while on my channel. I have made 3 pages in that book, and that's the more I have ever got into really creating something. It's just an anthology of once in a while notes I have made throughout the years when I was really forced to create something out of nowhere. I just compiled them all and put that into one kingdom. So yeah, that's where that's the more I ever got. Usually I like to build upon something that is already there. I like to check out a setting that I love, and I try to see in it if there's some gap where I could, create some stuff inspired by the original without really disturbing what's already there. So yeah, I want that freedom into something already existing, and I try to find it in there. So yeah, that's usually what I do. Though I'm very I'm very proud of what I've done in RPGS, and RPGS, the next RPGS that will eventually come, the science fiction one, I have created some stuff too. So yeah, that's the most I ever got, and yeah, I'm quite proud of it. just simple stuff, simple guidelines to tell you where to go with the setting. 7. Why do you think RPGs are not known about by a good many people in the public? Why? Many reasons has been stated, and I think they are all good. My take on it is that the reaction I have from people when when I talk about role-playing games to someone and he seems interested, I will tell him a little more about it. And sometimes the more I say about it, the more he kind of he seems to be drawn back. Okay, when I say, yeah, look at the rule book. Okay, and and he sees that 300 pages rule book, when that person is used to the one-page Monopoly rule, he may say, "Oh, that's a lot." And if I say you have to sit at least 2 hours in a session, usually it may be shorter, but it's often longer. It can be 4 to 6 to 8 hours. For a person who is used to be sitting around the table for 30 minutes for a family game, it may seem a lot. And when you say that you have to do it every week if you want, and it's the same adventure continuing, when you talk about a campaign, it's even worse, okay? Maybe of all those things, people may not be interested into getting into that much commitment into learning a game and be available to that length of time. And maybe that's why it's not known about many people, because the word may not be spread because of that, because of the commitment. Some people may lose interest even without knowing what it is. So yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah, it can be too much to the general public to get into. Even though there are easy games and one-page role-playing games that can be played in 30 minutes, but these are not the most popular, of course. When you talk about a popular game, you talk about Dungeons and Dragons with the description I've just made to you. Okay, so maybe it's that. Okay, it's just nothing scientific, but my take on it. 8. What is an RPG and why these types of game are fun? What is an RPG? It's a game where the people, through communication, will share their imagination. They will portray a character into a story. Well, not a story, into an adventure. And and through their imagination, they will share that moment. There are some rules to decide the outcomes of some of the events that is going on into that adventure, and by the end, you will have played whole adventure through your imagination. Well, it may be a little awkward description of it. I was trying to make something a little different, but once again, it's hard to describe. Okay, I think in the books, in our role-playing books, there are fine definition of it. Why this is fun? Well, basically, I think it just calls upon something that we all have, its imagination. And if you are ready to break the boundaries of it and get into that, you are playing with it, it just feels fine in your head. It's some kind of a trip into somewhere that doesn't exist. Yeah, it just calls upon something we all have, imagination, and the freedom we can have through it, and the unexpected. Okay, we don't know what to expect, but it will all stimulate our imagination every time. That's my that's my awkward take on it. Let's go to the next question. 9. If you were going to teach a new player how to play role-playing games, how would you go about it? I'm doing that quite often these times around, even with more younger players. With putting it simply into a situation. I put them into a situation, an easy situation, just telling them, just think about as if you were there. I make sometimes just as a training, I just put them into a simple situation. So one that I've made this week, okay, they were not really understanding at first what was those games, I said to them, okay, just imagine you are in front of a door. You're just starting like that. You're in front of a door with a big hook, with a big golden hook and around it, and you can hear some howling in the distance and that big gray wall. And okay, I've made a small description of it and just saying, just imagine you're in front of this door. What do you want to do? And just like that, you know, their imagination is some stimulation, and I simply say to them, there's no wrong answer to what you will say will happen. Okay, so everyone came up with their own little answers, and after that I told them, well, you just understood the game basically. So I come with them. I don't bother them with the numbers. I will tell them how to deal with the numbers, and I will invite them to come up with their own answers without checking their character sheet, just trying to make them comfortable with what they will come up. You know, trying to point them out that there's no really wrong answers. Okay, and every consequences can be interesting in a game. Yeah, making them comfortable and all that. It works usually in my case. 10. What age group do you think played this game more than other age groups? Well, I do feel that people from my generation are playing more than ever. So I would say in people in their 30s, 40s, 70s, 50s, maybe 60s. But I think every generation has their share of the game. You know, I can hear about teenagers who are still trying to get their hands on it. And I try to introduce kids to the game. So yeah, it's a very hard question to answer. Yeah. 11. What overall benefits do you think a person that plays role-playing games has that perhaps non-gamers wouldn't have or would have less of? Well, of course, it's creativity can be, you know, there's a big problem solving. There's lots of problem solving in role-playing games, and I think it just helps in getting some problem solving, even if these are fantastic situations that will never come in real life. I think it's just stimulate the people into finding solutions to problems, and probably it's a way to be more expressive. Okay, that's what I would see. Benefits. Well, they will have lots of fun. You know, people don't play role-playing games who don't understand them. They just don't know what they're missing, of course. But yeah, that's probably what I would see. You know, be able to express yourself and be creative about many things because of the problem solving that can be seen into a role-playing game. 12. Have you ever seen an RPG session breaking out in any violence, or have you ever seen with your own eyes people becoming more violent after playing role-playing games? Well, there was in the 90s, those vampire kids were taking themselves a little too seriously. They were not violent, but they were costuming themselves in real life. You know, they were during the night. They were around town and, you know, trying to scare people. Was not violent, but in my opinion, it wasn't necessary. I think it's just was just a bunch of teenagers who were searching themselves, and they found a little themselves into the vampire role playing game. I remember one of the role playing club I had in high school. There was some silly stuff going down there, but I just think that for some of the kids that were there, the room that we had was just a way for them to make some bad stuff, but it wasn't role-playing related. I remember once I get into that room and all the furniture was kind of tossed around, and someone told us, hey, go sit down, there will be a match of boxing. What? And then I saw someone get his boxing gloves, and they were boxing in the room. You know, we were not role-playing. They decided that today they wanted to box. Okay? Yeah, and I saw, some people, you know, getting at each other during a game. But it all felt that there was problem outside of the game. And the game was just where it all exploded. So, yeah, that's the way I see it. So that's the more I ever got into, because outside of that, you know, it all goes fine. Role-playing games is not a problem for that. Last question. Do you think RPGs are still seen as much of negative thing as they once were? Not. No. Well, not from my point of view. Yeah. Maybe some people don't understand that. You know, the first question, I already answered part of it. But today, you know, when we say Dungeons and Dragons and all that, people have heard of Dungeons and Dragons. People will know what it is, and I think people see it as it's a good hobby between many others. And yeah, I can see that, you know, in my position. You know, I make role-playing game for kids in my job. I play Hero Kids with the younger. I have some kind of a house ruled simple type of game for the older ones. And the parents comes and they see us play, and I have, you know, some parents, you know, I have congratulations from parents because of that type of game, and they just discover it. You know, they are quite amazed of the type of game this is and the kind of implication the kids are getting into, and you know all the good stuff that comes with role playing games. So even the parents, you know, I have the last session I've made with kids. One of them, it was a 3 hours long session, and the mother of one of the girl that was around the table, she was kind of working on the other desk just beside where we were playing, and I saw her smile once in a while. You know, I think she was having fun, and you know, I think she felt comfortable that her daughter was playing that kind of game. And she told me after that, oh, yeah, it was just to make the video is way too long, but you know, it was a table made out just of girls between 8 and 12 years old, okay? And we played that session of role-playing games. It was quite a blast. And she said to me, oh, I remember when I was a teenager, that was a mother, you know, it was only guys that were playing like that. And I said to her, well, the things are changing. These games are for girls too. Yeah, that's what she was remembering. But she saw it in a good eye. So is it still a negative thing today? I don't think so. You know, it's going in the right way. Hopefully it will get more and more people into it. I'm working on that in my little region. So this was a too long video for the 13 questions. I will put an index of all the questions if you want just to see one answer. You know, you can divide your watch if you really want to get through all of this. I invite you to respond to Tim too, because he needs your answer for his homework. So that was my 13 questions. At last, I had found some time to work on that. François Letarte for JDR D30, and up to next time, I hope you have as much fun in your life as in your games. Goodbye.